Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Great. Today we're going to be looking at narcissism.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic.
Definitely.
And we've got this WebMD article called Narcissism, Symptoms and Signs.
Catchy.
Yeah, so you hear that word narcissist all the time.
Oh yeah, thrown around constantly these days.
But what does it actually mean?
Right, like how do we really know if someone is a narcissist?
Or if we're just dealing with someone who's maybe a little self-centered.
Exactly, and that's what's so interesting about this article.
Okay, so lay it on us.
Well, it basically says that, narcissism isn't this like black and white thing. Like you're not either a narcissist or you're not.
Okay.
It's more like a spectrum.
Like a scale.
Yeah, exactly. We all have some narcissistic traits.
Really?
Yeah. It's actually part of having like a healthy ego.
Oh, I see.
But it's when those tendencies become really intense.
Okay.
And they start messing with your relationships.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And your life, like that's when it can become a problem.
So it's all about the degree.
Yeah.
Not just like, oh, you look in the mirror too much, you're a narcissist.
Uh-huh. No, not quite that simple.
All right, so then how do we know when someone has crossed that line?
Well, the article goes into the different types of narcissism.
Oh, okay. There's more than one.
Yeah. And this is where it gets really interesting.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Okay, so you've probably heard of like the grandiose narcissist.
Oh, yeah, the one who's like super braggy.
Yeah, exactly. Always wants to be the center of attention.
Right.
But there's also something called a vulnerable narcissist.
Vulnerable. That seems kind of contradictory.
All right, but it makes sense when you think about it.
Okay, I'm listening.
So with grandiose narcissists, they often have this history of being treated as superior.
Like maybe they were spoiled as kids.
Yeah, it could be something like that. Or, constantly praised even if they didn't really earn it.
Interesting.
So they develop this belief that they're special.
They're better than everyone else.
Exactly. And they deserve special treatment.
I see.
And the article even says that they can be pretty aggressive and insensitive when they don't get what they want.
So not just like a harmless ego thing?
No, it can definitely have negative consequences.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this could be a real problem.
Yeah, and with vulnerable narcissists, it's kind of the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, so while they still crave admiration, their behavior comes from this place of deep insecurity.
So they're overcompensating.
Exactly, like a defense mechanism. Fascinating.
Yeah, a lot of times they've experienced neglect or abuse.
So their childhood wasn't great.
Right, and that leaves them feeling inadequate.
Like they're not good enough.
Yeah, and so their narcissistic behavior, it's a way to protect themselves from those feelings.
So even though they might seem arrogant on the surface, underneath, they're actually really fragile.
That's exactly it.
Wow, that's such a complex dynamic. I know, right? It's like this constant push and pull.
Between feeling superior and inferior.
You got it.
Okay, so we've got these two main types of narcissists. But how can we actually spot them in the wild?
Right, like what are the telltale signs?
Yeah, aside from maybe an excessive selfie collection.
Yeah, good one.
What are we looking for?
Well, the article gives us some really clear red flags.
Okay, hit me with them.
One of the biggest ones is a sense of entitlement.
Entitlement, like they think they deserve special treatment.
Yep. They genuinely believe they're above the rules.
Oh, wow.
And they might demand constant attention.
Oh, boy.
Ignore the needs of others.
Classic.
And get angry if they don't get their way.
Sounds like a recipe for a relationship disaster.
It can be.
Okay, so entitlement is a big one. But isn't that kind of obvious? Like, wouldn't they be pretty easy to spot?
You'd think so, right? But here's the thing. Narcissists can be super charming.
Oh, no.
Yeah, especially at first.
So they can lure you in.
They're masters of manipulation. They might use flattery or guilt trips or whatever it takes to get what they want.
So how do we tell the difference between genuine charm and manipulative charm?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
The article says to pay attention to how they make you feel.
Okay.
Like, do you feel like you're walking on eggshells around them?
Yeah, like you're always afraid of saying the wrong thing.
Exactly. Or do they make you question your own judgment?
Like maybe you're overreacting or being too sensitive.
That's a common tactic.
And do they dismiss your feelings?
Yes. Big red flag.
Okay, so it's all about being aware of those power dynamics.
You got it.
And trusting your gut.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've got entitlement and manipulative behavior. What other red flags should we be on the lookout for?
Another big one is that constant need for admiration.
Makes sense, given what we were talking about.
Like, it's a core characteristic of both types of narcissism.
So they're always fishing for compliments.
Oh, yeah. They might be bragging constantly.
I've met a few people like that.
Or exaggerating their achievements.
I see.
They might even put others down to make themselves look better.
It's all about feeding that ego.
Exactly. They need that constant validation.
Like it's oxygen.
Literally. And this ties into another major sign, lack of empathy.
Lack of empathy. So they just don't care about other people's feelings.
Basically, yeah. They have a really hard time understanding or caring about how their actions affect others.
That's a pretty big problem.
It is.
Especially in relationships.
Right.
Okay, so we're seeing a pattern here.
Definitely.
Entitlement, manipulation, need for admiration, lack of empathy.
Bingo.
It's all connected.
It is. And all of that can manifest in arrogant behavior.
Oh yeah, like they might come across as condescending or dismissive.
Right. Or even abusive if they feel threatened.
Yikes.
So it's important to be aware of those signs.
Yeah, sure. This has been super informative.
Glad to hear it.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we have.
We've talked about the spectrum of narcissism, the different types and the key signs.
Right.
But now I'm thinking, okay, what do we actually do about it?
That's the next step.
Yeah, like how do we deal with a narcissist?
Well, the WebMD article has some advice on that too.
Perfect. So that's where we'll pick up in part 2 of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
All right, everyone, stay tuned for more insights into the world of narcissism.
Can't wait. All right, so we've got a handle on what narcissism is.
Yeah, the different types, the signs, all that.
Right, but now the big question.
The what do we do about it question.
Exactly. Like, how do we actually deal with a narcissist in our lives?
Yeah, because knowing is only half the battle, right?
It's true. And luckily, this WebMD article gives us some pretty solid advice.
Okay, so spill the tea.
Well, the first thing it emphasizes is the importance of setting boundaries.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
It's crucial, especially when dealing with a narcissist.
But why is that?
Because narcissists, they're really good at pushing those boundaries.
Oh, I can see that.
They need to be in control, and they often don't care about other people's needs.
Right. So we need to protect ourselves.
Exactly. Boundaries are all about self-preservation.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Like, what does setting boundaries look like?
It can be simple things like saying no more often.
Oh, that's hard for some people.
It is, but it's important.
Yeah, I guess you can't always be a people pleaser.
Especially with a narcissist.
Right, they'll just take advantage of that.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to say no.
And set limits.
Yes. Limit contact if you need to.
Okay.
And refuse to engage in conversations that are just draining.
Ooh, yeah, those can be the worst.
They are. And the article makes a really good point.
What's that?
It's not your job to manage the narcissist's emotions.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. Like, you can't fix them.
And you shouldn't try.
Definitely not. Trying to please them all the time will just exhaust you.
Yeah, you'll end up resentful and burnt out.
Exactly. So focus on taking care of yourself.
Your own well-being is the priority.
Absolutely. All right, so we've got boundaries down, but what about communication?
Ooh, yeah, that seems tricky.
It can be like navigating a minefield.
Every word could set them off.
Right. But the article gives us some tips.
Okay, I'm all ears.
The biggest one is be clear and concise.
Ah, so no beating around the bush.
No narcissists get bored easily, and they often twist things.
To fit their own narrative.
Exactly. So just get straight to the point.
Okay, got it.
And be mindful of your wording.
Oh, so?
Like, try to frame things in a positive way.
Okay.
Remember, they're super sensitive to criticism.
Right. Anything could trigger them.
So instead of saying, like, you always interrupt me.
Yeah, that would probably not go over well.
You could say, I feel unheard when I'm cut off.
Ooh, that's much better.
It's subtle, but it can make a big difference.
So it's all about how you phrase things.
Exactly. Now, even with good communication, you're probably going to run into some classic narcissistic tactics.
Oh, yeah, like
Gaslighting?
Gaslighting.
Right.
What's that?
It's where they try to make you question your own reality.
Whoa.
Yeah, like they might deny things they said or twist your words.
So you start to doubt yourself.
Exactly. It's all about undermining your confidence.
That's messed up.
It is. It's a form of manipulation.
So how do we deal with that?
Well, first of all, trust your gut.
Go.
If something feels off, don't ignore it.
So we have to be really aware.
Yeah, and this is where having a good support system is so important.
Oh, that makes sense.
The article talks about how valuable it is.
Like having people you can talk to.
Yes. People who can validate your feelings.
And offer a different perspective.
Exactly, because dealing with a narcissist can be really draining.
Yeah, emotionally exhausting.
So having that support network can make a world of difference.
Like a lifeline?
Totally. And therapy can be a huge help too.
Even if the narcissist themselves isn't in therapy.
Yes. It can help you develop coping mechanisms.
Okay.
And establish healthier communication patterns.
So you can better handle the situation.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about empowering yourself.
Okay, so therapy boundaries, communication.
That's a trifecta.
But the article also mentions things to avoid when dealing with a narcissist, right?
It does. And knowing what not to do is just as important.
Okay, so what are the big no-nos?
Number one, don't argue with them.
Oh, that's hard. I'd want to call them out on their BS.
I know it's tempting, but it usually backfires.
Why is that?
Because remember, they need to be right.
Oh, yeah. They hate being wrong.
Exactly. So arguing just triggers their defensiveness.
It makes them more manipulative.
You got it.
Okay, so no arguing. What else?
Don't try to appeal to their logic.
Oh, so they're not going to see my point of view
Probably not. They lack empathy.
and self-awareness.
Yeah, so don't waste your breath trying to reason with them.
Right, noted.
And this goes for deep, meaningful conversations too.
Oh, so like heart-to-hearts are off the table.
Pretty much, they're not going to respond well.
It's like talking to a wall.
Yeah, basically. And finally, don't bring up the past.
Don't rehash old arguments.
Exactly. It'll just trigger more defensiveness.
And they'll probably deny everything anyway.
Most likely. So stay focused on the present issue.
Okay, no past, no arguing, no deep convos.
Got it. And remember, even with all these strategies,
Yeah,
there's no guarantee things will get better.
right, because you can't control someone else.
You can only control yourself.
So we're not saying this is a magic cure
No, but it can help you manage the situation.
and predict your own well-being.
Exactly. So we've talked about personal relationships,
Yeah, a lot of great advice there.
but I'm curious, how does this apply to other areas of life?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like, what about the workplace or social media?
Yeah, those can be breeding grounds for narcissism.
So true. So that's where we'll head next.
All right, stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive into narcissism.
So we've been talking about dealing with narcissists in like our personal lives.
Yeah, family, friends, partners, all that.
But it's not limited to that.
No, it's like you said before. Narcissism, it can pop up anywhere.
It really can. Especially like in the workplace
Oh, yeah.
or on social media.
I mean, think about it. You've got that boss who takes all the credit,
Ugh. Yeah, the classic.
or that coworker who's always gossiping.
Trying to sabotage you.
Exactly. And then on social media,
Don't even get me started.
it's like a whole other level.
Influencers constantly seeking validation. Trolls attacking anyone who disagrees with them.
It's exhausting.
It really is.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the strategies we talked about
Okay.
for dealing with narcissists in our personal lives,
Like boundaries and communication.
they can actually apply in those other areas too.
So the key takeaway is understanding narcissism, it's like a superpower. I love that. Yeah, you can spot the red flags and protect yourself.
No matter where you encounter them.
Exactly. So let's try applying what we've learned to a real life situation.
Okay, I'm game.
Let's say you've got this boss,
Good.
total narcissist.
Micromanaging, taking credit for your ideas.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards.
What do you do?
Well, remember those boundaries.
Right.
Might not be able to change your boss.
But you can control how you react.
Exactly. Don't get sucked into their drama.
So stay professional
Yes. Focus on doing your job well.
and document everything.
That's a good tip.
Yeah. So if they try to take credit,
You've got proof.
exactly. And if it gets really
They
bad,
always have the option to leave.
right, you don't have to stay in a toxic environment.
You deserve better.
Okay. So that's the workplace. But what about social media?
Ah, the wild west of narcissism.
How do we deal with that constant barrage?
Well, you've got choices.
Okay. Like what?
You can unfollow those accounts.
Oh, does it make you feel bad?
Yep. And don't engage with trolls.
You just want attention.
Exactly. And most importantly, focus on building a positive community,
Surround yourself with good people.
online and offline.
So it's all about being mindful of our own well-being.
You got it. And remember what you see on social media.
This is not always real.
It's curated, it's filtered
So don't compare yourself.
to these unrealistic images,
That's such an important message.
especially for young people.
They're growing up in this digital world.
It's a lot to navigate.
But understanding narcissism,
It gives you a leg up.
it's like a shield
Exactly. It helps you protect yourself,
from those negative influences.
no matter where they come from.
Wow. This has been eye-opening.
I'm glad.
We've covered so much ground.
We have.
From understanding what narcissism is
to dealing with it in different areas of our lives.
I feel like we've given our listeners a whole new toolbox.
That's the goal.
So they can spot those red flags.
Set those boundaries.
Communicate effectively.
And protect their own well-being.
It's all about taking control.
And living a happier, healthier life.
Absolutely. Well said.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. This has been another deep dive. Until next time.